Welcome back to Ceramics 2. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a dome lid. So in previous videos for your lidded jar assignment, we showed you how to make a flat lid that was literally just flat and set inside of the gallery like this, and we showed you how to cut a hole in it for a spoon or something. We showed you how to make an inset lid, which is not quite flat, it dips down inside, but also has the appearance of a flat lid, that it sits in there flat, and then the dip dips down so you can grab the handle like so. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a dome lid. So the dome lid looks something like this, and should also just fit right on top, and we're going to cut a hole in it too for your spoon. Now if you're making a jar for storage, you obviously wouldn't cut a hole in it, but we'll do that for this video. We'll actually do that in the next video after we get done trimming, or rather putting the knob on the top. Alright, so to get started, things that you're going to need, definitely you're going to need your calipers that are already measured. So this is the inside measurement of my gallery here. You should definitely do this when your pot is still wet. Take that measurement rather than taking it when it's bisqueware like this, because remember the bisqueware is going to be smaller after firing. So you're going to have to, do that as it's wet and take the measurement like I showed you in the other video. Then to get started with, you should have approximately like a half, like not even a half pound, like kind of a clementine size piece of clay, like nice and on the small side. Now this is going to be a little flashback for us because this is basically throwing a T-bowl. All right, so you're going to get your clay on there, get it centered up, and one thing that you might be new for you is centering such a small piece of clay. All right, so instead of using your whole hands, I sometimes just use my fingers. Right there on my right hand, I use my fingers to lift the clay, and I lift it against my left hand, and then I'll frequently push it down. And since my hands are big enough, I can just use my left hand to compress the clay, and then use my fingers down here to keep that clay on center. Okay, so get your clay centered, and then you're just going to make a T-bowl, basically. So I'm just going to open. I'm going to open down so I've got maybe about 1/4 of an inch. I don't really need to cut a foot on this. I am going to have to trim the top of it, but I don't necessarily need to cut a foot. So I'm going to go down to about 1/4 of an inch, just like I'm going to make a cylinder. But instead of making a cylinder, I'm going to round it out so that it's a bowl shape. Now, as you make your T-bowl shape, have your calipers sitting nearby and start taking measurements after maybe the second pull. This one's still just a bit too short, or not short, but narrow. So I'm going to press in, pull my bowl out just a bit more. Press that rim so the rim is nice and solid. One thing about this, just like on a T-bowl, I told you to make a drinking edge. On this one, kind of like our cereal bowl, you want to have a thick enough edge that you don't damage the lid as you take it on and off. Okay, so make sure that you're compressing that rim so that it's nice and flat and lays in the gallery nicely. All right, so I think that's about right now. I'm going to measure it. Oh, it's just a little bit too wide. So I'm going to just collar it a teensy bit to get it to the right size. Okay. Still just a teeny bit too wide. Now this one is a little bit taller than I'd like, so you can, if you accidentally get too much clay, you can always nip it down a little bit. Like let's say I'm thinking, it's too tall, I don't want it that tall. I can use my needle tool just like I would if the tap was damaged. I can take that needle tool and make it a bit smaller so that I'm not having some overwhelmingly huge lid. Okay, but if you cut it before you take it off, make sure that it's the right size. All right, so I've measured that. It's just a teeny tiny bit too big. Perfect. Okay, so as I'm measuring this, I'm making sure that the outside edge matches that outside edge because that's what I measured off of my jar. All right, now just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to use my rib and undercut nicely so that when I get it back on the wheel to do the trimming, it's a little easier to do that trimming. Okay, so that's basically how to make the lid part of it. Now this domed lid, if you're looking at it on the wheel right now, this dome is just like that. Okay, in the next video, once it's leather hard, we'll come back and we'll put the handle on top. Okay, thanks for joining me. Oh, I mean, obviously, you got to cut it off too, right? So cut that off, get your bat, put it on your bat, and let it dry. You can let it dry in one of the moisture chambers, one of the moisture cabinets, or you can put it in a bag since it's kind of small. Either way works. Okay? So thanks for joining me for how to make a domed lid.